Hi, I'm Rob from We Keep You Cycling, and today, the Flite Gel Flow and Max Flite Gel Flow from Selle, Italia. Selle Italia has been making saddles for over 100 years, and at just about every turn of a decade, they've launched new saddles, refined old, and really continued to push forward saddle development, lowering weight and increasing performance. The Flite is no exception. It launched in the 90s and was a revolutionary design for them. It was ultra lightweight at under 200 grams. It was relatively narrow and performance oriented without sacrificing comfort for the riders. Today they've refined the Flite into the Flite Gel Flow, which is arguably the most comfortable of the lineup. The Flite Gel Flow builds on the popular Flite shape. Retaining its 130 millimeter wide width, it's intended for folks with narrower sit bones or more aggressive positions for folks rotating their pelvis fairly far forward. It still retains the full leather covering, which is nice as you're seeing a lot of saddle manufacturers go to synthetic. But it does make a few key changes. For starters, you can see this cutout, which starts fairly far back from the nose and goes to about 1.5 inches from the rear. That relieves soft tissue pressure and improves blood flow while spending the time towards the middle or rear of the saddle. The gel in the gel flow designation means that Selle Italia has put differentiating thickness gel pads around the saddle instead of traditional EVA foam. This provides a slightly greater level of comfort without creating any bulkiness to the saddle. Flipping the saddle over reveals a 10% carbon composite shell mated to ovalized titanium rails. Keep in mind they are ovalized, and that means your seat post clamp has to grab from the top and bottom of the rails, lest have a compatibility issue. It's finished with very nice chrome trim, front and rear, and of course they've put this little accent piece, red, behind underneath the saddle that shows the Flite decal. It goes very nice with the red up front, matching the red stitching on the rear without being overpowering. The Max Flite Gel Flow. When Selle Italia maxes a saddle, they make it wider, they add more padding, and they attempt to improve the comfort level of the saddle. The Max Flite Gel Flow does this with 3 key changes. For starters, instead of 130 millimeters wide, it's 150 millimeters wide, supporting wider sit bones or a more upright position. The cutout is almost twice the surface area as on the Flite, and it still uses differentiating thickness gel inserts, be it just slightly thicker to give you more comfort. They do all this without creating a nose that causes chafing. It is a little bit wider, but not so wide as to rub your thighs. Flipping the saddle over reveals a 10% carbon composite shell, but visually there's something significantly different. You'll notice blue accents at every point where the rails connect with the saddle. This is the other part of the Max. You have elastomer, which absorbs road vibration, further improving the comfort of the saddle. What's also slightly different is instead of titanium rails, you have Vanox rails, round, so you don't have to worry about seat post compatibility, and it does pick up a little bit of weight because of the rail difference. It's still, of course, covered in full grain leather. No saddle's perfect, and the Flite Gel Flow isn't either. The cutout starts fairly far back on the saddle, reducing the effectiveness. So if you're on the mid to rear of the saddle, great, you've got that additional comfort of the cutout. But as you move forward, you move off the cutout onto a very traditional nose. Now, I do like the nose, doesn't get in the way of your thighs, but there's no additional relief. Second, you need to keep in mind that titanium ovalized rails are great for folks who have seat post clamps that clamp top and bottom. I think in this category, the whole ovalized thing is probably overrated. I realize they do it for strength to weight ratio issues, but we've seen titanium round rails in the past and I haven't had any problems with them. Max Flite Gel Flow has the same Achilles heel that the Flite Gel Flow has. The cutout is so far back from the nose that as you scooch forward, you're not getting any of that benefit. The cutout is improved, of course. It's substantially wider and thus, on my personal scale, gets a rating of about 5 or 6 out of 10 on effectiveness. Really effective, mid to rear, of course. My complaint is really with the differences between the two. The Flite Gel Flow just happens to be a little too narrow for me, but I love the saddle. It just doesn't fit. The Max Flite is a little too big and bulky for my type of riding and my build. I really need something between 138 and 142 millimeters between these two saddles, and Selle Italia hasn't made it. I'm Rob with We Keep You Cycling, and these are the Flite Gel Flow and Max Flite Gel Flow saddles from Selle Italia. If you have any questions about these saddles or any of the saddles we carry, drop us a line or email us info@wekeepyoucycling.com.